they say you should never judge a book by its cover. But of course we all do. And if you replace the word cover with promo image, description and even title, a lot of us no doubt do the same to shmups too. Shoot One Up DX from Mommy's Best Games, who kindly supplied me with my copy of the game, falls foul of every surface category just mentioned, and I imagine a lot of people are going to write this one off without a second glance. If you do that, however, you will be making a massive error, because that would mean a lot of people would be in danger of missing out on an excellent shmup, one that's really unusual, fun, varied, replayable, and to my personal surprise, highly tactical. The key concept in Shoot One Up is that picking up one of the plentiful one-ups that float about during play, instead of adding to a livestock, immediately adds another player craft on screen. And this goes up to a maximum of 30, which you can probably imagine is pretty crazy. You then control these multiple crafts simultaneously, and therefore taking a hit doesn't kill you, it just reduces the number under your control. This will most likely strike many as sounding like a bit of a silly gimmick, but I can tell you it's nothing of the sort, and it gives Shoot One Up a wholly unique identity while adding a ton of strategic elements to its more traditional verizontal gameplay. The easiest way to think of your multiple ships is as a swarm. You move left or right and all your ships move with you. While you do start with one ship, which I guess could be called your main ship, you'll quickly lose track of whichever one that was as you learn to control your swarm as a whole, rather than focusing on any particular ship. Using the shoulder buttons, you can expand or contract your formation, with your ships all piling on top of each other at one extreme and spilling out to cover the entire screen at the other. The advantages and disadvantages should be clear. An expanded formation gives you huge coverage but leaves your extremities open to hits from multiple sources, while bringing everyone down on top of one another allows you to dodge through tight spaces but leaves you with just a narrow line of attack. This, however, is barely even the first layer of strategy Shoot One Up offers. On top of the obvious differences between formation spreads, the game adds another element by granting you a powerful beam laser if you keep your formation wide enough apart for more than a couple of seconds. This fires from roughly the center of your formation and is absolutely vital for taking down bosses and bigger enemies. Other than that, there is another weapon at your disposal. Releasing fire for more than a second sees you start generating a shield around each individual craft. This emanates out in a circle that gets bigger the longer you wait. Press fire again and deal damage to any enemies within the circle's edges and erase most bullets within range too. This can take some practice to get used to, but gradually becomes a vital tool, especially as we'll see later when it comes to scoring. Finally, it's not exactly a weapon, but losing a ship results in that particular craft exploding, and you can hide remaining ships inside the explosion for a brief moment of respite. So that's a pretty fun set of mechanics right there, and Shoot One Up would be a solid enough game if you were just looking to use those to get to the end of all the stages. But where it really excels is in implementing those mechanics within its scoring system to not just add yet more strategy, but craft an incredibly addictive experience that offers endless opportunities for experimentation and dangles the potential for absolutely beasting numbers tantalizingly in front of your face at pretty much all times. The way scoring works is that when you have your phalanx extended beyond a certain point, you start getting a spread multiplier. At full extension, this can go as high as times 30. That's a hefty multiplier already, but taking enemies out with your shield then offers a further times 10 multiplier, meaning a perfect piece of play could, in theory, net you a multiplier of up to times 300. This means mammoth scores can be attained with just one nicely timed shield burst, but since it also requires playing with a widely expanded formation, creates a far greater risk of losing ships. Hitting an effective shield attack with a huge multiplier, however, is an incredibly sweet feeling, and the fact that doing so is a constant possibility makes the system both hugely rewarding and addictive. There's even one further twist, namely that points attained through these multiplier attacks are not immediately added to your score, but rather appear on screen as medals and require collection. This adds both yet another strategic layer and also serves as a visual reward, with large shiny medals impossible to resist as they drop down the screen. Now, I'm aware the mechanics and scoring system can all sound a little complicated at first, but trust me, playing quickly makes it feel intuitive, and you'll soon be racking up millions of points per single enemy. Where the game falls down a little bit for me is presentation. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and there are definitely some unique visual aspects, but their implementation leaves a little to be desired. My main issue is that the stage backgrounds feel less like stages and more like pure backgrounds. What I mean by that is that in a lot of shmup stages you start off at one identifiable spot, you fly over a progression of scenic elements, then arrive at a boss battle. Think of things like the school stage in Esperate, where you launch off a rooftop, fly past the entrance and outbuildings, then over the sports fields before arriving at the school building itself, on whose roof the boss awaits. Or Gunbird, which might see you start in an open field, fly over a drawbridge, castle ramparts and interior courtyards, before coming to a clearly designated battleground. In Shoot 'Em Up there is no such progression. Arresting as some of the visual elements in the background are, they are just that, backgrounds that repeat and have no clear start or end point. In many ways they feel more like scrolling wallpapers rather than proper stages. They are very different from each other, however, and feature lots of distinctive features, and they don't do anything to detract from the excellent gameplay. Main stage enemies fall into a similar category, nothing wrong with them, but they do have a slightly amorphous feeling to them and don't really stand out in any major way. This can make it difficult to keep stage patterns distinct in your head, although this is mitigated somewhat by the fact that it doesn't matter so much here, since each run is going to see you with a different shape and number of craft in your swarm, and the game is more about adapting tactics on the fly than planning and memorizing specific routes. Bosses, on the other hand, certainly do stand out, and each offers a different challenge, though it can be a little hard to tell precisely where and when you can start damaging them. Music and sound effects are fine, if not particularly memorable, and the menu UI is functional enough. There are a couple of different modes to try out. The regular mode has 3 different difficulties, and there are toggles you can switch to tailor the level of challenge. You can also unlock a second playable ship type through play that functions quite differently from the first. There is also a score mode that gives you just one ship, and this mixes things up nicely and is another reason to keep you coming back. There are also very complete online leaderboards featuring separate scores for each difficulty and for the score mode, and for a title like this these are an absolutely key feature, and it's great to see them implemented so fully. Honestly, given that online leaderboards have a pretty much objectively defined best practice, it's surprising that so few developers get them right, and while having leaderboards like those in Shoot 'Em Up doesn't sound that impressive in theory, in practice it's actually very rare for a game to get them as right as they are here. So my main point when it comes to this game is make sure that you do not make the mistake of writing it off or dismissing it based on any superficial details. It may have a budget look, and most likely it was developed on a budget, but Mommy's Best Game have delivered in the areas where it counts. The scoring is both strategic and addictive, the weapon systems allow for, encourage even, experimentation, and the multi-ship gimmick is fun, unique and well implemented, and makes the game stand out for all the right reasons. I'd award Shoot 'Em Up an 8 out of 10, and I highly recommend it to anyone looking for something a bit different, and I hope to see you all out there on the leaderboards after launch. As ever, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.